Imagine a team with no money, no title tradition, a budget squad, freshly promoted to the Premier League, and then they go and win the English Championship. That's right. Leicester City pulled off the biggest miracle in football history. A team that spent less on salaries than Manchester City does in a week managed to beat all the giants and lift the Premier League trophy. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join us on this time travel to understand how this team rose from the depths to become champions of England. Leicester City Football Club has one of the most incredible and inspiring stories in world football. The club, which spent much of its existence oscillating between the first and second divisions, shocked the world in 2016 by winning the Premier League, a feat that seemed impossible for a team that, just a few years earlier, was struggling to avoid relegation to the third division. Leicester is a testament to overcoming adversity, resilience, and unlikely success, with a journey marked by moments of glory, painful falls, and thrilling comebacks. Let's travel through time and uncover every detail of this fascinating story. Leicester City was founded in 1884 under the name Leicester Fosse by a group of former pupils from Wigston School. The name Fosse derived from a Roman road passing through the city, called Fosse Way. The club began by competing in regional competitions and turned professional in 1891, joining the Football League in 1894. First stadium, Leicester Fosse, initially played on a field on Fosse Road before moving to Filbert Street in 1891, which would become the club's home for over 100 years. The early years were challenging, with the club fluctuating between the First Division and the Second Division. The best result during this period was a second-place finish in the Second Division in 1907-08, securing their first promotion to the elite. However, in 1915, World War I interrupted English football, and the club entered a severe financial crisis. In 1919, after the war ended, Leicester Fosse was reorganized and reborn under the name Leicester City Football Club. A more suitable name after Leicester was granted city status in 1919. With the new name, Leicester City began to display more competitive football. The 1920s and 1930s marked the emergence of a strong team that regularly competed in the First Division, 1928-29. Leicester nearly clinched their first top division title, finishing in second place, just behind Sheffield Wednesday. The team was led by Arthur Chandler, the club's all-time leading scorer with 273 goals. Leicester remained in the top tier for much of the 1930s, but World War II, 1939-1945, once again halted English football. After the war, the club struggled to maintain its top-flight status and was relegated in 1949. The 1950s and 60s were a real roller coaster for Leicester. The club moved up and down between the first and second divisions, but it was during this period that the team won its first trophies and began to build its reputation as an emerging force. 1954. Leicester won the second division and returned to the elite. In 1964 and 1966, the team reached the FA Cup final but lost both times, to Manchester United and Tottenham, respectively. In 1964, Leicester won its first English League Cup, now Carabao Cup, defeating Stoke City in the final. The late 1960s were marked by another drop to the second division, showing that the team still lacked the consistency needed to establish itself in the elite. It seemed that Leicester was starting to build something. But then came the yo-yo effect. Up and down, up and down. The guys became regular faces in the relegation zone. The 70s and 80s were challenging decades for Leicester, with the club frequently moving between the First Division and the Second Division. Emergence of Gary Lineker, the premier English striker of the 80s, who began his career at Leicester. In 1987, Leicester was relegated to the Second Division and entered a financial crisis. In the early 90s, Leicester managed to stabilize in the Championship, and in 1996 they finally secured promotion to the Premier League through the playoffs. Under the management of Martin O'Neill, Leicester experienced a period of stability and success. 1997 English League Cup victory over Middlesbrough. 2000 English League Cup victory over Tranmere Rovers. Leicester participated in the UEFA Cup after their League Cup triumphs, but was eliminated early in both campaigns. After O'Neill's departure in 2000, Leicester entered a period of decline. Relegation in 2002. Severe financial problems led to the club entering administration in 2002. The club returned to the Premier League in 2003, but was relegated again in 2004. From 2004 to 2014, Leicester spent nearly a decade in the Championship Second Division, and in 2008, the ultimate disgrace. Leicester found themselves in League One, Third Division, for the first time in history. Now hold on to this part, because this is where Leicester City starts climbing out of the abyss and sets the stage for the greatest miracle in football history. The club was in debt, lacked infrastructure, and had no future prospects. The King Power Stadium was empty, and the fans' morale was at rock bottom. It was one of those phases where nothing went right. In 2010, the club was purchased by the Thai King Power Group, led by Vichai Srivadhanaprabha, and here the story begins to change. Vichai was a man passionate about football. He brought financial stability to the club, and more importantly, he rebuilt the morale of the players and the fans. The mentality changed completely. Leicester paid off its debts and invested in strategic players without financial extravagance. Then came the coach who would start changing everything, Nigel Pearson. In 2009, Nigel Pearson took over the team in League One with a clear mission, to climb to the Championship, and he did it in his first try. Leicester won the League One with a dominant campaign. The following year, they almost made it to the Premier League via the playoffs, but lost to Cardiff City on penalties. Pearson left in 2010, but Leicester stayed in the Championship, always fighting for promotion. But in 2011, the club made a bold move. They brought in coach Sven-Göran Eriksson. When Leicester announced Sven-Göran Eriksson, expectations skyrocketed. The guy had coached the England national team. Big money signings arrived. Jermaine Beckford, David Nugent, Kasper Schmeichel. But guess what? Nothing worked. The team was mid-table, Eriksson was fired, and Leicester seemed on the verge of unraveling again. But then, the board did what they had to do. They brought Nigel Pearson back in 2011. Pearson restored discipline, fighting spirit, and made some important signings. Riyad Mahrez, bought for £500,000. Jamie Vardy, coming from Fleetwood Town for £1 million. Wes Morgan, an experienced defender who became the team captain. And in 2013-14, it finally happened. Leicester was champion of the Championship, with an insane campaign of 102 points. Leicester was back in the Premier League after 10 years. Mahrez began to shine, Vardy became the symbol of the team, and the team seemed ready to shine in the elite. Now hold on to this part, because it's absurd. In 2014-15, Leicester returned to the Premier League, but man, the start was tragic. 14 games in a row without a win. Last place in the table in April 2015. The fans had thrown in the towel. But then came the magic. Pearson shocked the guys, and Leicester won 7 of the last 9 games. Victory against West Ham, 3-2. Victory against Southampton, 2-0. And on the last day, a victory over Sunderland that secured survival. They were practically relegated and managed to escape, but little did they know that this was just the beginning. After saving the team, Pearson was marked as a hero, but in July 2015, he was fired. The reason? Internal problems with the board. The fans were outraged. How do you fire the guy who saved the team? And then Leicester did what seemed like a mistake. They brought in Claudio Ranieri. Yes, the same guy who had been fired from Greece after losing to the Faroe Islands. Everyone criticized it. They said Leicester would be the first to drop the following season. Little did they know what was to come. Now hold on to this, because what happened in the 2015-16 season is straight out of a Hollywood movie. Like those films you think are fiction because they're too good to be true, right? But in this case, it actually happened. In July 2015, Leicester had just miraculously escaped relegation. Pearson was fired, and the board brought in Claudio Ranieri. And you know what everyone said? Ranieri doesn't know the Premier League. He was fired from the Greek national team after losing to the Faroe Islands. Leicester will be the first to be relegated. Man, nobody had faith in this team. The betting houses placed Leicester at odds of 5,000 over 1 to win the Premier League. To give you an idea, the same betting houses were paying 1,000 over 1 that the Loch Ness Monster would be found for real. So, it was more likely to find the Loch Ness Monster than for Leicester to win the Premier League. But what happened next was historic. The squad Ranieri inherited wasn't star-studded, but it was perfect for the style of play he wanted to set up. First, Ranieri brought in N'Golo Kanté from Cannes for a mere £5.6 million. Kanté is that type of player who covers 10 football fields in 90 minutes. He intercepted everything, tackled everything, and even set up plays. Second, they already had Jamie Vardy, who came from modest Fleetwood Town for £1 million. Vardy had an insane story. The guy played in the 5th division, worked as a factory worker, and wore an electronic tag because he had troubles with the police. The guy went from jail to playing in the Premier League. Seriously. Third, Mahrez was already in the squad since 2014, bought for £500,000 from Le Havre in France. Mahrez was that winger who could dribble past defenders, making them dance, and shoot with incredible accuracy. Fourth, Wes Morgan, experienced defender and captain, and Robert Huth, former Chelsea, provided defensive balance. Morgan was the leader on the field, a true wall. Huth brought championship experience from Chelsea and brought a winning mentality. Fifth, Kasper Schmeichel, son of legendary Peter Schmeichel, held the fort at the back. He was one of the best goalkeepers of the season. Sixth, Danny Drinkwater completed the midfield alongside Kanté. He made the defense to attack transition like few others. Now, look at Ranieri's genius. The team played in a simple yet lethal way. Solid defense. Morgan and Huth let nobody pass. Kanté intercepted everything in midfield. Drinkwater quickly launched attacks. Vardy and Mahrez tore it up on the counterattack. It was basically this: lock down the back, recover the ball in midfield, and send it for Vardy to run like mad. Leicester started the season destroying. Win over Sunderland 4-2 in the opener. Epic comeback over Aston Villa 3-2. Rout of Newcastle 3-0. And the best, Vardy was simply unstoppable. Vardy scored in 11 consecutive games, breaking the record previously held by Van Nistelrooy. Now pay attention. Leicester finished the first half of the season in first place. Everyone thought Leicester would fall apart in the second half, right? Not at all. They beat all the giants. Victory over Liverpool 2-0, 2 goals by Vardy. Victory over Manchester City 3-1, Mahrez destroying the defense. Victory over Tottenham 1-0, goal by Huth. These guys were making it look easy. And then, when Tottenham drew with Chelsea in the penultimate round, bam! Leicester were English champions. 5,000 over 1, the greatest miracle in football history. Nobody will ever repeat that. Leicester finished the season with 23 wins, 12 draws, 3 losses, 81 points, 10 points ahead of Arsenal. Leicester City exploded. Over 250,000 fans hit the streets to celebrate the title. Ranieri was carried on the shoulders by the players. Vardy threw a party at his house, and even rival team members went. And the craziest part is that these guys did it with a squad valued at less than £30 million. The price of a backup defender at Manchester City, simply historic. Ranieri, Mahrez, and Vardy become legends. Ranieri became an instant legend. Mahrez was voted Premier League Player of the Year. Vardy became an eternal icon and even got a movie about his life. From prisoners to champions of England in less than 10 years, Leicester proved that in football, nothing is impossible. Leicester participated in the Champions League in 2016-17 and reached the quarter-finals. In 2021, Leicester won the FA Cup for the first time, beating Chelsea 1-0. In the 2022-23 season, the club was relegated to the Championship after a disastrous season. Today, Leicester is in the Championship, trying to make its way back to the Premier League. The squad that won the 2016 title has been disbanded, and the club is seeking a new rebuild to become competitive in the elite again. Leicester City has proven that nothing is impossible in football. From League One to the Premier League title in less than 10 years, the club showed that with good work and team spirit, even the smaller teams can topple giants. Do you think Leicester can make it back to the Premier League and surprise the world again? Comment below what you think. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and see you next time.